if you can, wake up and do something for yourself. That's where that has to happen. Make sure you get something for yourself before you go to shift. That will lead to longevity. It will lead to structure and balance, and it will lead to a safe mindset for you to feel clear and ready to proceed with your job, especially in our role.
What about nutrition then? Because we've all worked with people or experienced are like, calories don't count on night shift. Those are eating a Big Mac burger and my milkshake. Yeah, and they're like, oh, I don't know about this.
I love that. I once had a colleague I was just starting out, and fitness it's always been big in my life for me, more so in adulthood, sorry. He said to me, hey, Bree, make sure now that you're starting out, make sure you don't get the extra ambulance gain. I was like, what's that? It's like, you get it in the front from sitting all the time in the rig and not working out. And like that just hit light to me because it's true, right? Like our line of work, you're up and down stairs, you're interacting with patients, you're go, you're moving all the time. I think fitness is key, which then ties into nutrition. And yes, there's people that like to do like pre-meals and pre-planning and food prep and everything else like that. And there's those, such as myself, that I hated that. It wasn't for me. But whenever I would be making dinner or lunches, I'd make sure to make extra for the next day and take that with me. I didn't have time to plan and prepare it. I just made extra. And if I didn't, I would be mindful of what was around me to eat, which is hard on night shift because not many places are open especially when you live in a small community and you're up rural or you're up north and there's nothing else around you. I think it just really comes down to discipline and what you want for your body and your health. And recent conference I went to, I met a woman who works with shift work nutrition. And I said to her, like, I've been referring her out, for instance, her husband's RCP member, and she found with his own journey of becoming an officer, what kind of nutrition he was going and what he was eating. And she took the opportunity to run with this and create her business. And she works in Alberta, Ontario, and she works strictly with shift workers to help the nutrition. I think that's so important. And it's very, very important that we get more awareness around it, what we need for our bodies.
That's incredible. What a good business idea just to help people. And just think, I've played this game, I'm sure we all have. You get overtime, then that cuts into your sleep, and that cuts into your meal prep. And something's got to give. No solutions, just trade-offs. And you can see how easy it is to fall victims to just doing junk food, and that compounds the situation, or to stay with the regimen I need to do this for my nutrition, for my recovery, and overall my well-being. Like, it's hard being a shift worker, and even though if you get days off, you're just catching up on life days off.
Yes. Yeah, you are. And I love, that's an excellent point, Ryan. You want to make time with your spouse. You want to see your children. You want to see your pets. You want to see your family, not just your like immediate, but maybe extended. Or maybe you want to go for a bike ride with your friends, whatever that is. And I think you have to nail on the head, you're catching up with life, laundry, groceries, cleaning. What does that look like? Mowing the grass. Like, when do you have time for that? So that's why I say, when my clients come to me and they're having issues with sleep and prioritization, or they're having sleep nutrition issues, or they're just not functioning well, what can we pull from and what can we give to? What does that look like in your life? If you have a newborn at home, okay, we're not going to take away from that because you need to be around that. You need to be present. They want to watch you grow and be there with them alongside your spouse, right? You need to support your spouse. So having that flexibility and the openness to be willing to change and to adapt and being proactive. Being proactive this career, I think, will help with longevity as well.
Let me know what you think of this, because I personally felt this too, the commute home. How important is that? Because I've heard some people won't listen to anything. They'll just sit, decompress, and it's almost like a light switch. I'm in paramedic mode when I switch it off. When I'm at home, I'm dad now. I'm husband, or I'm wife. And sometimes you need to just slowly turn down the volume depending on the day and the situation, your commute. And that goes back to your point of decompressing. But if you don't have that time to decompress, you may still be in paramedic mode when you get home, which is hard to regulate a totally different circumstance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how can we learn to be better?
I think that's a valid question. That's a really good question. And because you have some people that live, beside HQ, and there is a quick walk home, and they don't exactly that, right? And then you have myself, it took 45 minutes to get home and 45 minutes to get to work. So for me, there becomes where I listen to a podcast driving home. But yeah, I'll be listening to a podcast driving home because it would just get me out of the mindset, okay, I'm done. Work is left in my locker. I don't need to go back there until tomorrow. So for the meantime, I'm going to turn something on that is mindless. I don't have to overthink. I can just listen and just absorb. But then there's times where you don't have the ability to do that. So It comes back to the adrenaline cortisol. What are you doing? Some people just like to go home, shower, and go straight to bed. But when is that time to decompress for you? What are you doing? What is your outlet? So I think you need to find something. If that means like you're too tired after a night shift, I get it. Go home, shower, get your sleep, get a meal into you if you can, wake up and do something for yourself. That's where that has to happen. Make sure you get something for yourself before you go to shift. That will lead to longevity. It will lead to structure and balance, and it will lead to a safe mindset for you to feel clear and ready to proceed with your job, especially in our role.
Do you think that's hard for paramedics and overall healthcare providers? Because we're so used to helping others that we always paradoxically forget helping ourselves.
100% guilty of it. 100%. All of us are. We're our worst own enemy. We're so willing to go pull over an MVC that we just witnessed and we're out with our families. And we're willing to put our lives in line in front of it. We're willing to stop and we're willing to continuously, we're the caregivers, we're the helpers of our first responder role. And the ability to look after ourselves, we're our worst enemy for that. We don't do a very good job at that. And therefore, that leads to a lot of compassion fatigue, burnout, PTSD, alcoholism, substance use, anything else that comes with that. So where does that stop? Do what you need to recognize for yourself. So, Ryan, like what is one thing that you do for yourself every day?
I'm an avid runner and I love to exercise. That has been my outlet. And no matter what, no matter how little sleep I get, that's what I try to optimize because I know I'm a different person once I do it. For the
Exactly.
better. Yeah.
And I love that you use the word optimize because you're able to use that and say, no matter what, you're determined. You don't want to get up at 5 a.m. to do it before your shift at 7. I hear that, but you'll be a better person for it if you do that. So you have the discipline to want to better yourself, to make sure that you can be present for your fellow crews, your patients, and you can go home and be present for your wife and child at the end of the day.
I learned a long time ago, if you do it the first thing for yourself in the morning, or that was when it was best for me, that's my time. That's when I reflect. That's where I think I do something for myself. So I start off with a win. And now for the rest of the day, I know my job's done and I am nicer to patients. I'm more patient instead of thinking, oh man, I got to get rid of this shift and get it done with so I can go work out. So you're always thinking about the future, not being present.
Yes.
I was a totally different person when I did in the morning versus at night.
Yes. Yes. And that's exactly it. And plus, at the end of the day, you've been around people all day. You don't want to be around more people hitting the gym or whatever that happens to be for you. You want to be at home with your wife and child so you can be present for them. Right. And that's for me working out before a 5 a.m. shift. I'm at the gym at 4, or I was out running at 4 at HQ, being ready to go to my locker for 5 because I wanted to be at the end of my 12-hour shift. I wanted to go straight home. I wanted to be around my family. I didn't want to be around anybody else or doing anything else. I wanted to be present for them.
I think that's so cool for non-healthcare providers to hear and healthcare providers to hear that the paramedic, nurse, physician, whomever you see may have been up at 3:30 to optimize their health to help you, then go home to be with their family. Like, it's pretty cool to see what healthcare providers do to make sure they are healthy and doing what they can to support everyone in their lives.
I like that. What a great perspective.
Then for the paramedics or healthcare providers that aren't doing that, how do we show them there is a better path for them to feel better and to treat patients and be more present with their families? Because you mentioned, yeah, we can optimize your sleep, your health, but sometimes we just need to push you a bit. I'm sure it's this delicate balance of, I don't want to push you too hard, but I just want to do incremental steps towards that. How can you do that as a psychotherapist?
So I use with my, it's like my senior officers. I use solution focused therapy, behavioral therapy, so CFET. So that's more goal setting. A lot of them don't need to talk about past. Some of them don't need to talk about past trauma. So anything like that, I think goal setting, motivational interviewing are some of the tactics and modalities that I use as a psychotherapist. I don't use a one-size-fits-all approach. That's not how I work because that came with me from Paramedicine, right? In our toolboxes, we have all the tools we can use to help people on the road. So proceeding forward, when I think about to get the paramedic as a psychotherapist, to get them to be more active and more aware of themselves and that their needs that they have to be able to have longevity in the career, I would use solution-focused behavioral therapy and find out what their goals are. If you could change one thing and have that miracle question, if tomorrow can be a better day for you, what would that look like? If I can get you feeling more active and more out involved, what would that look like? Oh, okay, you want to do a 5K because you've never done a 5K. How do we get you there? Okay, so we're going to get out and get you walking the dog twice a week. We're just starting with that. We're starting simple. I'm not asking you to go and run a marathon. I'm asking to get you out and walking twice a week. And then from there, we're going to build up. And I think that comes hand in hand with the question you're asking with how do we get them to be more involved and more aware of themselves? What do you want for yourself? If you could be a better version of yourself, what would that look like? In 10 years from now, what would that look like? Okay, you want to be on the TAC team? You want to be more fit? What would that look like for you? How do we get you there? And working with those goals and making sure that we still continue to check in if there is a traumatic experience. We make sure to take time for that and we expose them to that trauma and we get them out there and get them processing that trauma. If it's talking about goals, let's establish those goals. They don't need to be strict, intangible goals. They can be realistic, small. Let's just get you moving. Let's get you exposed slowly.
What would you say to like those paramedics that maybe their biggest challenge is actually with slowing down? Because I know for me, it's more about taking things away from the schedule and making space to actually sit and think than anything else. Like, if you tell me to go 6 days a week, I can do that easier than just like sit for an hour or two and relax. So yeah, I guess that's the other opposite example, right? So how would you like recommend managing that for people?
Jacob, I love that. Thank you. Great question. And very real question. It's the reality that we live in. And I say that because it comes back to us being so hyper vigilant and hyper aware. We always need to be on. And what does that look like? Running 6 times a week, you're satisfied, you're great, you're feeling powerful. But the minute I tell you to get uncomfortable, we're going to pull back to 5 days a week, even though I wouldn't do that because you're running and that's healthy and that's positive. But let's just say I need you to sit still and I need you to process and I need you to be present with family or I need you to be present with self. I'm going to ask you to start doing some mindfulness activities. You may not like it. It's going to be uncomfortable. You might tell me to beat it. You might tell me, no, that's not happening. I have clients that do that, but then they would start implementing it and they're like, oh, that I didn't know I needed to do that. Oh, I didn't know that I had to get my kids out the door because we're used to being ministry stamped and everything. And I was always pushing them to the next level. And that made me hyper. It made me feel junk for the day. So once we have them bring back to their awareness and we have them feeling stillness in their life, they have time to process. And then they're coming back to sessions and that being paramedics, they're coming back and they're saying, I didn't know I can feel that way. I didn't know that journaling, which no one in this day and age has time for because you're so busy in our line of work, but taking 5 minutes a day to journal your thoughts or how your day was, that actually led to reflection. That led to time being present with myself, which made me feel really good. And it made me grow within myself and made me heal. And it's making me feel better. So there are positive effects to what you're telling me to do. I don't want to do it at the beginning. And I'm going to tell you I don't want to do it. But the minute we start, it's almost like I have to be your mentor as much as I'm your therapist. I'm not there. I'm your guiding light. I'm not going to force you to do anything. And I'm going to make suggestions in a way that's healthy, in a way that's going to protect you. But also you can tell me no, it's your journey and I'll respect that. But it's very hard to have that balance until we start seeing it and seeing the results. That's for you to discover, I can do it. I can find stillness in my life and calmness, but it's very hard. And I don't want to dismiss the thought of hypervigilance and how we're always go, 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 go. We're always turned on. So how do we turn ourselves off? What does that look like for your daily routine? What's your post-ritual? What's your pre-ritual? What does it look like when you do have downtime on a call? What are you doing then? Are you scrolling? Are you continuing to make yourself stimulated? Or are you sitting and being mindful in the moment? Are you doing meditations for those 2 minutes that you have in an offload delay? Are you checking in with your partner? Are you calling a loved one? Are you taking time to eat and go to the bathroom? Or are you gossiping and are you scrolling and are you what does that look like for you?
That's such an important message because, when we spend all of our time with paramedics at work or, hanging out with paramedics outside at work, and then you hang out with someone else that has been their job and they know it's like, why are you always standing up? Why are you always getting ready to leave? Why are you always on to the next thing? And I think that's something we can easily get trapped into. So it's so important to make that time for stillness, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, that was really hard for me in my own recovery. I remember my therapist, even family today, they're still like, you're always on the go. How do you do it? And it finally came down to my husband's like, you have to stop booking us every weekend. It has to stop because we don't have time at home. We're not enjoying what we have at home. We're not being present. We're always go, go, go. And it was affecting how I was responding with my family and my friends. And it got to the point where Ring, do you ever have downtime? Nah, I'm good. But I actually wasn't good because I was always needing to be on the go. And I didn't get to enjoy my home. I didn't get to enjoy quality time with loved ones. I didn't get to enjoy time with myself. Or that's when I started finding running, and I'd be out on the pavement for an hour. I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like to just be in my head alone, quiet and present, and not have to continuously be on the go and thinking about what are my next moves. So finding that stillness is really important in our line of work, because exactly that. You're standing around an offload delay, you're on to the next call, you're doing the next drug. You don't have time to just be still. And a lot of my clients like, I can't. Like, you can. It just takes practice.
I love that Jacob mentioned that question and your responses, Carly, because it's so true. We don't think about the opposite side. And I can tell you an anecdote. One of my closest friends and I, we went to that beautiful spa in Quebec when about like 6 years ago, and we're both sitting there, and it's amazing. And we were both so uncomfortable because we did not know what to do, like visibly uncomfortable because we didn't know how to relax. We're like, okay, that's not good. And one of the best quotes I heard an athlete say, he goes, the discipline doesn't come in from doing the work, because that's what I love to do. The discipline comes in not doing the work, which is key for recovery. I'm like, what a good line, especially for all those very type A individuals. It's just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
But you have to stop.
Yeah, we do. But we also live in a society too, right? That doesn't help, that we're go, go, go the entire time. What's the next thing we can do to keep up with the next person, to keep up with the next trend, to keep up with the next thing? So it doesn't help. Our line of work adds to that, and then add to societal expectations. And then finally you're like, hey, what does that mean to just be hanging out in my backyard, enjoying the view? What does that mean to just be connecting with friends without having to look at our phone and knowing what's the next thing that we have to do, right? So I like that you I'm sitting there laughing. So I'm like, yeah, I remember going to the spa being like, okay, so what's the next section we're going to hit? Where are we going to go to the next bath or whatever it is? And then people are looking at you and you're like, I'm not used to this. I'm used to always being on the go.
Do you think that's cultural, just as a North American culture? Because it's another anecdote, but I laughed out loud when I heard it. Like someone that was born in Italy was swimming in the beautiful ocean there, and like an American was like, oh, what are you optimizing? You racing for something? Like, what's your time? And the person's like, I'm just swimming. Like, what are you talking about? Like, why do you have to optimize and make it a competition out of everything when it's just, you can just have an activity?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And I think it does have to do with cultural, right? That's a separate conversation on its own, but it also comes with the expectation of what we need to keep up with the culture. Exactly that, right? So like, what is every kid I know right now is in competitive sports. Every kid. And so it's like the expectation that my kid has to be competitive. We said no, we didn't want her to be in competitive. We want her just to be a kid. So she plays rec soccer and she's leisure sports and whatnot. But we do a lot of travel with her. For us, that's what we needed in our lives, is travel. We need culture exposure. We wanted to go out and see what the world has to offer. That's how we led her life. So for us to slow things down, it was mandatory. And when we first started deciding to have children, what we wanted, and this is what our expectations were as a family, to slow things down. It's hard to do that, but it's also a cultural expectation to go, go, go. So where do you find that balance?
That is the $1 million question.
I don't know, because I just had the conversation today with a girlfriend, and it comes up to what do you want to have with your family? What do you want to have of yourself? Do you want to be always on the go and competing, or do you want to be able to slow things down and embrace what you have? Guys, we say all the time in our line of work, life is too short. What do you want to be filled of? Do you want to be filled with competition and societal expectations, or what do you want? That's where I ask a lot of my clients when I first meet them, tell me about your desires. Tell me, well, what do you want? Not your spouse, not your husband, not your kids. What do you want? Oh, you want to go back to school? Oh, you want to go move and you want to live somewhere else more secluded? Why aren't we doing that? What does that look like for you to have that? How is that obtainable in your life? Why do we have to meet the societal expectations? Why can't we just do and be ourselves?
Just being happy with where you are right now and what you're doing. Something that's really hard to find, but it just reminds me of this Ryan Holiday quote where he's like running around between all those businesses and writing his books and all these stuff. And he's just like sitting on his porch finally for 5 seconds. And he looks at one of the goats that he keeps in his farm. And he's just sitting there being a goat. And it's not bothered by that. So why can't I just sit here and have a few moments to myself? I'm just go through the moments.
I love that.
Well, we want to be mindful of your time, Carly. I want to ask this last question to overall demonstrate to the listeners how important your work's doing, because there's amazing psychotherapists out there, especially specializing in first responders, but you have this unique lens where you know what it's like to be a first responder and you have the training to be a psychotherapist. So what do you think you can offer that would completely support any first responder coming to that wants to improve their health, prevent any negative consequences to the health? Like, why is that so special to you?
I've lived it. I think that's the beauty of it and the messiness of it, to be real. PTSD is an ugly thing, and it hits its head up when you're least expecting it, or when you do expect it, you just never want to deal with it. I think for myself, what I have to offer is the lens. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Thank you. As I have been on the road, I have had the experiences, but on the other hand, I've also lived what comes with that. And I don't want to hold shame of others and judgment. And I know typically, mental health professionals don't hold shame and judgment, which is why we're doing the role that we do. But it just comes with more the experience that I've had to go through. So when you come to me, I hear you. And I'm not there to say everything's going to be right. And you're going to be coming out of this in 6 sessions. It's going to be a hard work, and very real with my clients, where I have a very real approach with them. And I'm not there to coddle them, and I'm there to be real. And that's my different perspective of it. And my different approach with it is I've lived it. I've gone through it. I've gone through recovery, and I'm here to listen to your experience. And I don't hold the shame and judgment that, our own peers can and our own loved ones can. And therefore I can be a safe place. And my priority as a therapist is, and as a human, is to gain your trust and respect. Before any of that, we're not going to be doing anything. I need to go slow with my clients is what we need. We go slow, we take our time, and we just unpack when you're ready.
We commend the work you're doing. So where can people find you online?
Thank you. Thank you, Jakob and Ryan. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate both of you for this opportunity as well. So, and for the line of work that you're doing, letting our voices be heard and educating people. So thank you. I can be found at CSR Psychotherapy on Instagram and csrpsychotherapy.com. And I can also be found under LinkedIn at Carly Ring, RING, under LinkedIn as well.
Thank you so much for coming on. You're always welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
This channel and its content are created independently and not affiliated with or endorsed by any employer, agency, or organization. The information provided is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Viewers must follow their local paramedic guidelines, clinical standards, and applicable laws when providing patient care. Always practice within your scope of practice and seek direction from authorized medical oversight when required.